Welcome to Unscripted with Russo. For our podcast, we decided to explore the people behind the narratives. I'll introduce decision makers and influencers and find out the intimate story behind their rise to success. Hey everybody, welcome to Unscripted with Russo. I am here with Carol Obando-Derstine. She's the Regional Affairs Director in the Southeast region for PPL. Carol, thanks for being here.
So excited to be here, Ashley.
That is a very long title.
It is.
What do you say your title is?
I say that I do public relations for PPL, Electric Utilities.
That's great. Well, you're certainly out and about all over the community. You and I have known each other for quite a while now, and I've seen your role change and transform. And I want to talk a little bit about how you got to that point. But before we do that, I want people to get to know you a little better. So tell me about yourself. Where did you grow up?
I am a naturalized citizen, so I was born in Columbia, and I grew up in North Jersey. And about almost 17 years ago, I came to the Lehigh Valley, and I love it. And I don't see myself going anywhere else.
I feel exactly the same way. How long were you living in Columbia before you came here?
I was almost 4 when I came here.
Okay.
But I came to an area in North Jersey where there were a lot of Latinos. So I definitely grew up around a lot of, and African Americans. So I grew up in a very urban area in North Jersey.
Okay. And what were you like as a kid? When you got over here, I assume you only spoke Spanish.
Right.
And how long did that continue? Did you learn English when you went to school?
I was in ESL, so I'm definitely a proponent of investing in English as a second language. Although I think here in Pennsylvania they call it ESOL. I think. Anyway.
I always know it as ESL.
Anyway, but I'm a big proponent also of public broadcasting because I recall learning a lot of English words by just watching Sesame Street and Mr. Rogers.
Which is so awesome. You hear so many people say that watching TV is the best way to learn another language. And meanwhile, Sesame Street was trying to teach American kids Spanish.
We were just talking about that today at work because my coworker was saying how he learned how to count up to 10 in Spanish. And I said, and I learned English, of course in school, but also it was supplemented by the excellent programming of Sesame Street.
That's so cool. What were you like as a kid? I mean, what were things you were into once you got into school? What kind of student were you? Were you into sports activities?
Yeah, I wish I had been into sports, but I was really, in my young years, I was really a bookworm. So I loved to just have my nose in a book and just learning. And I did do track for a year in high school, but no, I was not much into sports.
Did you play any instruments or were you in any clubs?
I did play the violin growing up, and I was in high school, I was in almost every single club that there was offered. And I had, at one point, 3 jobs in high school.
Talk to me about those jobs. Like, what was your first job and how did you balance all that?
So my first job was in middle school, and I was working for the school. So I was doing, like, filing and doing clerical work. And then as I got older, then I worked at a place called Caldor, which is very similar to a Kohl's. I think maybe at one point Kohl's bought it or something. I don't know, but it was in New Jersey. And then I also worked at California Sunshine, a bathing suit store in the mall. So I was juggling all that and trying to be super active in school.
But it's cool to have a job at the mall, right? I mean, it's hard to describe nowadays to people, but like for us, the mall was, first of all, Jersey girls.
Yeah.
And the mall back in like the 80s and 90s was like the place to be.
Mm-hmm, definitely. But I was always like, I couldn't find enough hours to do every single thing that I wanted to do, and it's very similar to how I am now.
You are today. You were always a joiner. You always said yes.
Yes.
What do you look back and say that you learned from those early jobs as a teenager?
I learned to balance everything because I did pretty well in school too. I was number 15 in my class in school, so I learned to balance, and I think that that's probably what it taught me. It taught me work ethic, and I learned that very early on from my parents. They worked very hard. They came here to make a better life for themselves, and I just had that lesson internalized, and so I always felt I needed to do more and be in more activities to give back to the community, even at an early age, because I was a candy striper too. I volunteered at the hospital. I was in every single thing I could get my hands into.
Do you feel like you had a different perspective or maybe a different appreciation as a child who had immigrated here and knowing what your parents sacrificed
100%.
than you might have raising your own kids.
Yes. I mean, I never took that. Well, I was going to say I never took that for granted, but maybe if you talk to my parents, they may differ. But I always felt that they sacrificed so much for my sister and me. And so I just always want to make them proud, but also give back to this country. So that's why I volunteer so much and why I'm in Rotary, and I'm one of those people that are about action because I want to give back to a country that has been so good to my family and me.
That is so amazing. And so we're so lucky to have you here in the Lehigh Valley.
Thanks.
Tell me a little bit about college. Where did you go to college? What did you study?
I went to Rutgers undergrad, and then right after I graduated, I went to Penn State graduate school, and that's where I met my husband. So I studied psychology and cultural anthropology because I thought I wanted to be like a clinical psychologist, first psychiatrist, and then I thought, maybe medical school is not the way to go. Yeah. So then I thought maybe psychologist, clinical psychologist. But then towards the last year of Rutgers, I had this class called community psychology, and I loved it. I loved the professor. I really got into it. And so I went to a community psychology program. At Penn State, the degree is called Community Psychology and Social Change. So it was right up my alley. It fit so well.
It actually sounds like a degree that fits your exact career.
Yes.
You don't hear that very often.
Right.
That's pretty amazing.
And it's an interdisciplinary degree, and so I loved it, and I was successful at it. But life has taken me down so many different paths, and how I ended up at an electric utility is I think it was just fate. It's God. And now I'm really interested in pursuing an energy systems engineering degree. So
isn't it fascinating though how, and one of the messages I always hope that listeners, particularly younger listeners, take away from this podcast is the idea that where you are at 20 or 25 or even 30 is not necessarily where you'll be at 45, 50 or 60, and that you can kind of constantly reinvent yourself if you take opportunities. And do you have advice around that if you look back?
I definitely think that folks should never see themselves on a linear path. Life is going to give you experiences, like life experiences. People talk about that a lot, and it's just you're going to be curious about different things, and you're going to venture off this way and learn a little bit more over here, and maybe this job takes you a little bit more to the other direction, and it's fun to be able to grow in life and to adapt. And I think that I hope young people, I always say that to young people as well, because I do interact with young people. I remember I was executive director of an organization that worked very closely with career and tech students, and I never wanted them to think of their life so linearly as maybe sometimes we think that life is going to be like when we're young.
Or that you need to accomplish everything by a certain age. It's really an evolution. I remember feeling that way, like I had to get certain things done by a certain time. What was your first job after graduate school? What did you go into?
So when I was in graduate school, I was a therapeutic staff support, a TSS they call them, and then I was a mobile therapist and a behavior specialist consultant. So I was doing that sort of around the time that I graduated. So when I graduated, I started to do that full time, and then I moved back to New Jersey and worked in Newark. Worked for a nonprofit organization as the director of Women and Family Services. So I saw a lot.
I was going to say that must have been an incredible insight into sort of the difficulties and some of the roadblocks along the way for people to find health and success and education.
Yeah, absolutely. It was very challenging. Also, just personal things, personal challenges that really impacted me. I had a staff member who collapsed during a summer camp, and then I visited her in the hospital, and then within that week in the hospital she died.
Oh my gosh.
And we buried her on her 23rd birthday. So there were a lot of traumatic things that it was a very challenging, emotionally challenging, not physically, but emotionally draining position. And then on top of that, issues with staff and things that were very hard for me to overcome because of the fact that I care about people and I cared about her. So
sort of life-altering experiences that really kind of shape who you have become.
Mm-hmm.
All right, well, we are going to talk more to Carol after the break. We'll be back Unscripted with Russo. You know, family time is about creating memories together to last a lifetime. And what better way to bond than spending time at some of the amazing attractions the Lehigh Valley has to offer? You know, you can cheer on the Lehigh Valley Phantoms or take a walk on the wild side at the Lehigh Valley Zoo. However you enjoy spending your free time, there's something here for every member of the family. For more information on things to do in the Lehigh Valley, head over to Discover Lehigh Valley's website at discoverlehighvalley.com. Welcome back to Unscripted with Russo. I'm here with Carol Obando-Derstine. She's from PPL, and she's been telling us a little bit about her upbringing, coming to America, growing up a Latina woman and a young volunteer and advocate early on in your life. So you went to college at Rutgers. You graduated grad school from Penn State. You're now working back in New Jersey and kind of in the inner city, helping women. And what happens next? Because you've had you're a young woman, and you've had a lot of things happen in your career. You've had an interesting career.
Yeah, I've done a lot of different things. I was also talking to someone recently how over one of the breaks between Rutgers and Penn State, I also, my aunt was handicapped. May she rest in peace. But she lived with my grandparents, and so I taught ESL to her friends because she really couldn't. She wasn't very mobile, so we would have like an ESL class once a week, and I took it very seriously. I had a curriculum, and so I've tried to do different things in my life. So I ended up here in the Lehigh Valley because my husband picked up a job here in Bethlehem, and I would see this exit on the way home I went to Penn State, Harrisburg, and it was halfway. The Lehigh Valley was halfway from my home to Penn State. So I would see the exit, but I never actually
What is that?
I never came off the exit. So he picked up a job in Bethlehem. We said, let's give it a chance. You know, we will live here for a while. If we don't like it, we can go somewhere else. And it just grew on me. And I love the Lehigh Valley. I love to be an ambassador of the Lehigh Valley. I love everything about it.
And what was your first job when you moved here?
So I was executive director of a nonprofit organization that's called Skills USA Council. They work with area career and tech schools and businesses and really trying to just promote students to be well-rounded. So they're already learning they're learning something in the career tech school. It's pretty
amazing how Skills USA, that role in particular in the Lehigh Valley, seems to be a great training ground because there's several women who have held that position here who have gone on in their careers. And of course, you get to learn from the great Nancy Dishnot.
I love her.
I know. She's been a guest and she's so amazing. So
she's a mentor.
She is.
She's the first. So it's funny because the job was based in the same building where Nancy works. And so I would have to go through Nancy's work area to get to my desk. So I saw Nancy every day and we developed a great friendship. She's a mentor. I love her. She is a dynamo. I think she's one of the rock stars here in the Lehigh Valley, and I absolutely adore her.
I totally agree. And if you have the opportunity to just get a little nugget of Nancy, it'll go a
You're
long
blessed
way.
if
Absolutely.
you get a nugget.
Then you moved into politics, which is really when I met you. I remember you in that role. So tell me a little bit about your role with Bob Casey's office.
Yeah, so I was in the nonprofit sector after I left Skills USA Council. I stayed home with my daughter, so I took a year off of working. Then I worked for Northampton Community College as an instructor. Then I saw an opportunity as executive director of the Children's Coalition of the Lehigh Valley. And I was doing that, and then an opportunity came up in Senator Casey's office. I appreciated his work, and I thought it would be a great opportunity to learn more about the federal government, to work in government, because before that, I had only worked in the nonprofit sector.
What sort of was your pitch when you applied for that job? And I only ask that because it really is kind of a real, turn. I mean, you had studied, psychology. You had worked in the nonprofit sectors in a variety of ways. You'd worked in career development. And now all of a sudden you were jumping into politics. So what was your pitch for that job?
I think it was because I worked at the Children's Coalition of the Lehigh Valley, which was a child advocacy organization. And I think that was the bridge that allowed me to consider an opportunity in the public sector. So it was that. And I really thought it was a long shot. Ashley. I really didn't think I had a chance. I didn't have the credentials that other people had. I didn't study political science. I wasn't involved in the local politics. I was not. So I thought, I don't know, I'll just try. What the heck? And I was successful because I think it was that the difference in my path than the typical folks that tend to become interested in a position like that.
I think it's so interesting when you have the opportunity to genuinely ask questions about something you don't know. I guess it kind of opens you up in a different way and allows you to really be receptive to the answers and the learning. And I would suspect that was a big opportunity for you there.
It was such a big opportunity because I am curious about so many things. It's really hard to satisfy my curiosity. I just I want to learn about foreign affairs. I want to learn about healthcare. I want to learn about any number of things. And working for him allowed me to learn about so many different things. So
it also put you on the map. And I know I suspect, knowing you, that was not one of your goals, but you were the face of his office in so many circumstances around the Lehigh Valley that you must have met so many people. I mean, what did you really learn in that time?
I love meeting people. I learned how much I enjoy meeting people from all walks of life. I enjoy the variety. Variety is the spice of life. And I'm 100% sold on that notion because I want to hear stories. I want to hear about what people are doing in the community, and that's why I enjoy your podcast so much. Plug for the podcast.
Thank you.
Because I get to hear about all this amazing work that's taking place and all the people that are. That's why I studied community psychology, because I believe in communities. I believe in people coming together and working for the betterment of where they live, where they work, where they play. So I just had such a blast working for him because of the opportunities to connect with people and industries. I really also am really big into economic development. I was able to tour a lot of companies. I got a tour of Beanbowl factories and Ocean Spray and all these other places that are providing family-sustaining jobs. And I like to learn about how the engine, the economic engine that's really driving the country.
You mentioned community involvement and giving back, and that's always been so important to you. And I want to talk a little bit about some of your favorite things because there are so many. Yes. I'd like to lead with the Girl Scouts, mostly because I am so excited for you. You are being honored this year by Take the Lead of the Girl Scouts of Eastern Pennsylvania for the Lehigh Valley, and it's a huge honor, and it's so well deserved. So
thank you.
Why the Girl Scouts, and how have you been involved with them?
So I was a brownie many moons ago. And then because of family circumstances, I wasn't able to continue. And then I thought, if I ever am blessed with having a daughter, I would love to be involved with the Girl Scouts again. And so I became involved when she was young, and I was involved for 7 years. I was a troop leader along with someone else. And it was just an opportunity that just has really changed my life. I just got so much out of being around girls and seeing them develop and grow and have their own growing up into young women. And so I really appreciate the work that the Girl Scouts do to instill courage, confidence, and character. Those are the lessons that they really want to push on the members. So I'm just blessed to have learned more about that organization through being involved and have met so many great people.
Yeah, and there's nothing like doing it with your daughter. So, my daughter was a Girl Scout, a Brownie and a Girl Scout for about 6 years, and was always involved with the troop. And it's, you see it through their eyes, and then you really get to experience those messages, I think, as you're raising your daughter. So I think that's kind of a cool part of it.
And I also internalize that because I am a little afraid of mice. I will let you in on the secret. And I remember having to camp outside, and there were field mice, and being scared myself and having to overcome my own fears. So I got a lot out of it, as much as the girls did.
I love that. So, little known fun fact about Carol ObandoDerstine, afraid of mice.
Yes.
You also took on a really cool new role, I believe, last year on the Governor's Advisory Commission on Latino Affairs. Explain to us what that is and what does that mean to you?
Well, actually, I was so blessed and honored to have been part of the first group of, so I have been on it now 3 terms.
Okay.
So I am part of a group of amazing people all throughout Pennsylvania who serve as advisors to the governor on issues that are impacting the Latino community. And I hope that I'm conveying now the fact that because those commissions exist, it's not like if we're for something, it doesn't mean that we have to be against something else. It's not life is not a zero-sum game. So we want everyone to thrive. Just because we're involved in a commission for Latinos, for that community to do well, it impacts everybody else. And so everyone does better when everybody's just thriving.
And it's really interesting to me that when you look back at what you studied and where you started out, how you've almost come full circle in a lot of ways to utilizing that love of community psychology and people to really help influence and move the needle on issues that are really important, not only to the Latino community, but to the entire community.
Yes, because we all benefit. When one segment of the community is doing well, it's just like that saying, a rising tide lifts all boats. We want that. We want every segment of the community to do well. And so I happen to be involved in that commission, but the governor has commissions on women, on Asian Americans and African Americans, and he has another one on LGBT. So
I think it's really neat that you've been such a great advocate for it, because it helps raise awareness. I really didn't know that existed until I saw you start posting about it and talking about it, and it made me ask more questions. So I hope that it's done that for many other people. I want to thank you for that. I think that's really neat. Well, we're going to take a little break, but when we come back, I want to talk to you more about the Lehigh Valley and all the amazing things that you love doing here. All right?
Awesome. Yes.
We'll be back Unscripted with Russo. Any time of year, the Lehigh Valley is an exceptional place for food, drink, and entertainment. Whether you're cooling off from the summer heat at Dutch Springs or shopping for just the right kind of gift at Chris Kindle Market, you will make memories all year round. For more information on what the Lehigh Valley has to offer, check out Discover Lehigh Valley's website at discoverlehighvalley.com. All right, welcome back, everybody, to Unscripted with Russo. We are with my friend Carol ObandoDerstine. She is the Regional Affairs Director for the Southeast Region for PPL, which we haven't even talked about yet, Carol. We've just talked about your life. But tell me a little bit about your job with PPL and that transition that you made to doing kind of community relations.
Yeah, I think that PPL is just an outstanding company in the Lehigh Valley, and I'm blessed to have found a company that has the values that I have. So they believe in investing in the community. We actually even have a brand new grant this year because we're turning 100 this year.
Oh, that's exciting.
So it's called Bright Lights, and we're trying to find people in the community that are doing great work, and then we'll have them apply. So it's called Bright Lights, and then they are in the running then for a grant. And so we're just trying to highlight all the good work that's happening throughout the region that we serve, the service territory that we are in. And so that is an example of why I love this company, because it's a company that really believes in supporting the community in which we serve.
Well, in addition to loving where you work, you love where you live. So I want to talk to you a little bit about the Lehigh Valley. So we know what brought you here. A job brought you here, right? Mm-hmm. What do you think makes the Lehigh Valley special?
The people. So, of course, that was going to be what I would say, because I truly believe it. We have so many amazing people. We have creative people that are just doing all sorts of jobs, and it works. It works. I love it. I'm here in the factory. I had never been in this place, and I'm just floored about all the stuff I'm seeing outside the window here. And I just also love the natural resources that we have, And a lot of times people think, oh, well, we'll go enjoy it somewhere else. Like we have to go far to enjoy it. And we have them here. We have the DNL Trail. We have Wildlands Conservancy that does awesome activities with kids, with adults, all sorts of things. We have the Lehigh River, so we have opportunities to enjoy the Lehigh River and see the Lehigh Valley through a different lens, just floating on a raft or a boat or anything.
It's a true transformation when you're out there on that river. You actually lose track of the fact that you are right between Allentown and Bethlehem.
I
and
love
all of a sudden, you see the bridge in Bethlehem, and you're like, oh, wait, I'm actually in civilization. So, yeah, it's pretty neat.
So I love that. The biodiversity that we have here. We have mountains, we have urban areas. I love restaurants. I love dining in Allentown, Bethlehem, or Easton, and then I like just relaxing.
What's your favorite hangout spot? Like if you were to go somewhere on a date night, where do you guys like to go?
We have so many. It's so hard to narrow down. I do enjoy downtown Bethlehem. I love the restaurants on Main Street. I also really like the restaurant scene in Easton, of course, Allentown. I like just going in my backyard to the Saucon Rail Trail and just walking and just being quiet.
It's amazing how many people, as we talk to people throughout the podcast, are really appreciative of the natural resources, the rail trail, the opportunities to dine. You also have 2 children, so I want to make sure we mention your family, your husband and your 2 kids. What do you guys like to do as a family?
We like biking. We like they love the Lehigh River. So anytime that we have opportunities to get in someone's boat and just go down the river, they love it. Then we just do all sorts of things. We do like going out to restaurants and just my son still likes those bouncy places. He still likes those, yeah.
Those are good for energy. I have to tell you, my kids who are teenagers just recently asked if they could go with friends to bounce around a little bit. Yeah. So I don't know if they.
So
it's
those
good
are
energy.
fun.
Yeah,
those are
fun.
Cool to have.
A lot of good family activities. What is next for you, Carol? I recently saw that you are taking a math class.
Yes.
I don't know what that's all about. It sounds like really one of the more horrible things I could do. So, of course, I was like, what are you doing? Why are you doing it? And admired you for it.
Oh,
Tell us about this math class. What are you working towards? Something's up.
I am working towards this energy systems engineering degree, and I have to really brush up on all the STEM-related lessons that I need to really, solidify before diving in headfirst into that degree. But I am a big proponent of STEM, and I go around and I do things on behalf of PPL and just on behalf of Carol. I'm just promoting STEM education, and I had one of those like, oh my God, like I have to take my own advice. I really want to do this. I really want to go into STEM. I want this degree in energy systems. I have to do more of this then. I have to learn more about STEM and learn more advanced math than what I had in college. And I want to take a physics class. I never had one before, but now I drank the Kool-Aid. I really want to do this.
Well, Carol, there are a lot of people that talk about it and very few that actually do it. And you are such an amazing, inspirational, living example of someone right in our backyard who you seriously live carpe diem, like seize the day, whatever it is you say you're going to do, you actually do it. And I love that. So thank you for being such a good inspiration and a role model for, women, and hopefully young people out there are listening and saying, there's a constant reinvention that can go on if you just take the opportunities right in front of you.
Yeah, life's too short. Why continue along a path that may not work for you? If you feel it doesn't work, switch it up. I've done that countless times. And I think once you do that a few times, you realize how easy it is to do it.
Taking that first step.
Just do it in small steps then, baby steps. Maybe it's doing something that's not so drastic, maybe not a whole nother career, but maybe if you have an interest in something, go to a community college. I was interested in studying Mandarin. I went to Northampton Community College. They offer just non-credit classes. Do something like that, and maybe that'll lead to something else, and maybe you could change your career that way. But sometimes just taking those small steps can really make a big impact.
Home to the Iron Pigs in Dorney Park, Allentown is a city without limits. Food, art, dance, you name it, it's got it. Allentown's historic roots are matched with its vibrant culture to create an adventure that you'll never forget. Thinking of taking a trip? Follow Lehigh Valley, PA on Instagram, and you'll find attractions, hotels, and sites you won't want to miss. All right, we are going to do a rapid fire round with Carol Obando-Derstine. Carol, as a listener of the podcast, you are familiar with this concept,
Yes,
correct?
yes, I
But
am.
you have not heard these questions.
Ah, okay.
They are new.
I was preparing for the ones I have heard in the
I
past.
had to switch it up for you. All right, if you won the lottery, what is the first thing you would do?
I would make sure my kids had definitely enough to go to medical school if they wanted to. Like, definitely have enough for their education.
Love that. What is your favorite hobby or pastime?
Running.
Running. What is one food you couldn't live without?
One? Oh, Ashley, killing me.
Or you can list a couple.
Cheese. Says the woman who's lactose intolerant, but cheese, yeah.
Isn't it funny how that lactose intolerance really makes you love it even more?
Oh, yes. Forbidden fruit.
What actor would you cast to play you in a movie about your life?
Ooh. I don't know. That's a good one. I am not sure. I would love to say, like, maybe Salma Hayek, who I look nothing like. But,
I
but
was
love
going to
her.
say, I hope you pick a really beautiful Latina. So you did. Okay. If you didn't have the job you have now, what would you be doing instead?
Be working in the nonprofit again, nonprofit sector.
Name one person who inspires you.
Ooh, it can't be one. It's my husband, my kids, my parents for sure, my sister, my little sister. Too many.
So many people that you're
Yeah,
inspired
right.
by. All right. If you were to pick up one new skill, what would it be?
I am still stuck on trying to learn Mandarin Chinese. And it's really, really hard, guys. I've tried.
If
so
anyone
hard.
can do it, I know it's you. Carol, thank you for being a guest on Unscripted. It was great having you here today.
Thank you.
All right. Until next time, guys.